Welcome, 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 one, welcome all. Glad you could make it today. How are you doing out there? Hope you're doing well. And I'm really glad you're here, of course. Whether or not you found this live stream because you're in AA or NA or Celebrate Recovery or even some other program, you're working the steps, or because someone you love is in the middle of a struggle. Maybe you just stumbled in here by mistake because the algorithm thought you needed it. Whatever the reason, I believe you're here and you're supposed to be here, and I appreciate you being here. And I don't say that lightly, I really mean it. So let's stay sober for the next hour or so. Hopefully the next year or so. And my name's Glenn. I'm a recovered alcoholic, and this is Aware and Convinced, my live stream. And this is video number, and I always forget to do this, 14. So what do they say? A journey of 1,000 miles starts with one small, tiny baby steps. That's right. And you can do it. As I said earlier, I'm a recovered alcoholic. I drank for 40 plus years, and by the grace of God, I've been sober now for over 5,000 days. And 40 years to soak yourself in alcohol is a long time. See, my dad lived to be 101. I hope to beat that record by at least 10 years. Having been soaked in alcohol. Oh, my. Yeah, back in the day when I first found alcohol, it was fun. I had a blast. I was in the music world. I was playing outside, playing guitar, and singing along, having a great time, party, party, party. And it was fun until it wasn't. And that's when I found consequences. Or should I say, consequences found me. And this channel is not about shame or blame. It's about honesty, accountability, and the raw reality of addiction. And the hope, the powerful hope of recovery. And of course, you know, recovery does not erase the past, but it certainly gives us a chance to be forgiven for it. One honest step at a time, one day at a time, sometimes 1 hour at a time, right? And with a little help and a lot of commitment, of course, you can do it too. There is a light at the end of the tunnel for you, if you want it. And you can consider this channel your safe space, your refuge, your home away from home. And I welcome you with open arms. Come on in. So if you're ready to leave that old life behind and all that wreckage and start building a new life, or maybe you just want to strengthen your sobriety. Maybe you have some years or some time. Or maybe you're brand new to recovery. Never really gave it much thought. Well, with a little help from God or your higher power, whatever that is, stick around. This is for you. This is our journey together. And if you so desire, and I hope you do, please click on that like and subscribe button so every time that I come up, that you'll be notified. And of course, it'll help me get the message out to more people. And, you know, let's face it, the addiction is not going down. It doesn't matter what your addiction is, whether it's alcohol, drugs, food, porn, lust, money, job, whatever it is. Stick around. You may pick something up that can help you get through your addiction. And if I can help one person out there with just this much information that makes you think a little bit, maybe change your mind about things, I have done my job. So I always like to talk about some of the resources that I'm going to be using, or that I do use on a regular basis. And the first one, of course, is the Life Recovery Workbook, available on Amazon. Really a great workbook to use. Absolutely. Get a lot of information out of that. If you want to do a little more, go a little deeper, of course, it's the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous, and this happens to be the hardcover version. Both hardcover, softcover available on Amazon, or if you even go to an AA meeting, generally they have copies that they will give you. A lot of clubs do that if you're in need. Same goes for NA, Big Book, Big Blue Book, NA. And last but not least, of course, we do recommend the Celebrate Recovery Study Bible, which is what I am into now. I was into AA for years, and absolutely fabulous, fantastic. I got sober through AA. Wonderful program, fantastic people, and I do miss them. They weren't local to me now. I've moved out of the area, but wonderful people. And what more can I say? It doesn't matter where you go. AA, NA, Celebrate Recovery. That's where I'm at now, is in Celebrate Recovery. And it's a wonderful program as well. They all cover the 12 steps, 12-step program. And of course, Celebrate Recovery, a little bit different. They have 8 principles, but it does include all 12 steps of recovery. So that makes it really nice. And we've been doing a step study along the way here. And without further ado, let's get our notes together. And we have made it all the way to step 12. I'm amazed. We made it. And so that's what we'll be looking into tonight. Any questions or concerns or ideas, comments, feel free, drop them in chat. Yeah, I'll get back to you. You know, if you have any questions, I'll certainly try to answer it, or at least try to point you in the right direction. So we are with step 12. Step 12. Having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps, we tried to carry this message to others and to practice these principles in all our affairs. Basically, this says, step 12, and we'll get into it a little bit more. But this is how I read it. And again, it's only my opinion. Having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps, we tried to carry this message to others and to practice these principles in all our affairs. I believe it just says this simply: you can't keep it unless you give it away. And I've heard that many, many times throughout my recovery. You can't keep it unless you give it away. And that's why I'm giving it away. There's absolutely no charge. No charge. All right, so we are doing step 12. out of the 12-step program. All right, so let's kick this off. Let me ask you something. And I don't want you to consider an answer right now. Just hold the question close, let it sit, let it ruminate in its own juices. Let it sit somewhere in your chest, right where questions tend to live. And here it is. If everything you went through, all of it, the worst of it, if everything you went through was actually preparing you for something bigger than yourself, would you be willing to find out what that is? That's it. If everything you went through, all of it, the worst of it, was actually preparing you for something bigger than yourself, would you be willing to find out what it is? Simple question, right? Now, we're not going to answer that yet, but by the time we're done, I believe you're going to know the answer. And I think that answer might just change something in you. And if you're in sobriety now, in recovery, I hope it strengthens your recovery. And if you're new to recovery or want to get sober, clean and sober, then it might make a change. And that's what it's all about, changing, right? So hold on to it. And let's take a look at step 12. That's the last step, of course, in the 12-step program. The one that a lot of people either rush past because it's just there, let me get through with this, or don't fully understand or even don't take seriously. The one that I personally believe is the most important thing that happens in the entire recovery process. Step 12. Not because it's a finish line, but because step 12 is where you find out, maybe for the very first time, that you were never just surviving, you were being prepared for something. Think about that. Yeah. Now, before we go any further, I want to take one slow breath together. I know you're supposed to breathe in through your nose and exhale through your mouth. I think that's how you do it. The point is, listen up, because this conversation deserves your full attention. Step 12, not just your attention, but your presence as well. We're not going to rush through it. We're going to take our time because this is your actual life away from addiction that we're talking about. And that deserves more than, running through a highlight reel, right? Absolutely. All right, so what is step 12? Once again, having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps, we tried to carry this message to alcoholics, addicts, doesn't matter, and to practice these principles in all our affairs. And again, it does not matter what your addiction is. Step 12 fits once you go through the rest of the steps. Now, I want to break this down into 3 parts because there's three separate things happening here, and each one is just as important as the next. They're equally misunderstood. All right, part one. Having had a spiritual awakening. It says having had, past tense. It's a program saying if you have generally worked the steps, something has already happened in you. You began to change. Something shifted in your thinking. And we're calling that a spiritual awakening. Okay. That wouldn't be, or doesn't have to be, voices. It doesn't have to be lightning or thunder or seeing apparitions. Just the fact that you made a change. We're going to call that a spiritual awakening. Okay. Now, some of you felt a little resistance when I said that phrase, spiritual awakening. Maybe it sounds too religious. Maybe it sounds too mystical, too big. Maybe your version of awakening didn't feel like a lightning bolt from heaven, as I just said. Maybe it's more like a soft breeze. Were you just slowly noticing that you weren't as angry as you used to be? You actually called someone to say, I love you. Maybe your first instinct wasn't to reach for something to numb the feelings that you have, make those feelings go away. That is the awakening part right there. And it doesn't have to be dramatic. For most people, it isn't dramatic, okay? I can honestly say for me, it was dramatic. And to this day, I'm living it. For most people, however, in recovery, it's quiet, it's gradual, it's a slow softening, a growing awareness, and a sense that something in you has changed. It goes deeper than behavior, deeper than willpower. That's the spiritual awakening. The big book in AA also talks about an educational variety of spiritual awakening. You didn't see the burning bush. You just slowly over time became someone different, meeting after meeting after meeting after meeting, and getting a sponsor and going through the steps. One day you looked back and you said, gee, I've been sober now for how long? When exactly did that happen? Yeah, that's what happens over time. Okay, now the second part of step 12, this is the part where theory becomes action. Theory becomes action. All right. After everything that you've been through, after the wreckage, after the amends, after the nights that you don't want to remember, the visits to the lockup. No, we don't want to remember those. The days that you clawed your way back from the edge. The program asks you to do something honestly, and it feels a little counterintuitive because it asks you to turn around and go back in. What? What? Oh, back in. Back toward the suffering. So you know what that's like. You remember that? Back to the person still sitting in the dark. back toward the person who looks like maybe you looked 2 years ago, 5 years ago, 3 months ago, 5,000 days ago, and tell them the truth. Tell them there is a way out. And this isn't about being a savior. It's not about fixing anyone. It's about showing up as a living, breathing example that recovery is real. And I can assure you from my experience, recovery is real. There is a way out. The program works. It's that simple. Part 3 of the step 12. This is the part that most people quietly skip over. And I understand why, because it's demanding of you. It's not enough to be a different person at meetings, whichever group you decide to go with. It's not enough to be kind when people are watching. The program asks you to bring these principles. What are those principles? Help me here. What are those principles? Drop in a comment. Let me know what the principles are that you've picked up through your recovery. Okay, I'll tell you. Honesty, humility, compassion, service, surrender into every area of your life, your job, your marriage, your parenting, relationship with your own fears, your temper in traffic at 8 in the morning, 9 in the morning. It doesn't anytime during the day. Oh my gosh. People's tempers out there driving. You've got to bring all of those qualities into all your affairs. Not most, but all. All. And that's not a weekend commitment. It's a way of living, one day at a time. Okay, now, I do want to acknowledge something. Some of you watching right now have been through things that would bring most people to their knees. But look, here you are. You're watching a video about recovery, about step work, about service to others. That's not a small thing by any means. It's actually enormous. The road that brought you to step 12 wasn't easy. Oh no, it was not easy. Oh no. It was not clean. And for a lot of people, there are things on that road they're still carrying and still grieving, still ashamed of. The damage that addiction does to you and to the people you love, that damage is real. And step 12 doesn't ask you to pretend any other way. That damage is real. How do I know? Hello. Hello. I know. What step 12 does, it asks you something harder and more beautiful than that. It asks you to let what happened to you become something that you cherish. To let the wound become the very thing that heals someone else. I was at a meeting Tuesday at Celebrate Recovery. And that's our meeting night, which is great. And I was in a group meeting and I made a comment that I thought may have been a little harsh. Because it was a wound. Because I know someone that was very close to me, my spouse, my wife, that left a wound in me because she could not get sober. And the end result was it took her life. She overdosed. That made me a little angry at some of the people there that didn't seem to take it as seriously as they should. Now, maybe I overstepped my bounds. I have to think about that, pray to God. But that wound that I have, hopefully, the way I present things becomes the very thing that would heal somebody out there. I can only pray that it does. The damage that addiction does to you and the people you love is immeasurable, and it's real. All right, now, there's a verse in the Bible that I keep returning to when I think about the kind of transformation that will happen. It comes from the book of Romans, chapter 8, verse 28, New International Version. And we know that in all things, God works for the good of those who love him, who have been called according to his purpose. And we know that in all things, God works for the good of those who love him, who have been called according to his purpose. In all things. Not in the good things, not in the easy things, in all things. And that word all it's doing enormous work there, because it means the addiction is in there. The lost years are in there. The relationships you fractured are in there. Oh, yeah. The version of yourself that you're most ashamed of is in there too. And the promise is not that those things were good. The promise is that they can be worked on. They can be worked into something good. They can be changed. That there's a purpose woven through even the hardest parts of your story. Nothing is wasted. Step 12 is the moment that you start to discover what that purpose really is in your journey through recovery. All right, what's a spiritual awakening look like? What does it look like out there? Well, I think there's a lot of confusion about what a spiritual awakening is. I think that confusion actually prevents some people from recognizing what's already happened inside of them, that change. So what is it not? What a spiritual awakening is not a religious conversion. You do not have to become a Christian or a Buddhist or anything else to have had a spiritual awakening in the context of recovery. The program itself is deliberately and carefully non-denominational, as we know. And when it says God as we understood him or understand him, that leaves the door open to everyone. It's meant for every person in every room, everywhere. It's not a single or dramatic one-time event. For most people, again, the awakening is more like a gradual sunrise more than a lightning bolt or thunder or a hurricane. All right. It's for most people, you don't see the exact moment that it starts. Over time, gradually. But at some point, you look up and you realize that, hey, something is happening. Something has changed. I feel better today than I ever have before. Yeah, that change happens. Now, remember, it's not perfection. It's progress, right? We just because we've had a spiritual awakening does not mean that every day is going to be rainbows and unicorns and sugar cookies. It's not. Life is rough. You may have difficult days too. You may still get angry at people. You may fall down when it comes to your sobriety. You may have to start over. The awakening is not the end of the struggle. It's a different relationship that you have with the struggle. Spiritual awakening is simply it's in the language, and it simply says that you have had a shift in your relationship with three things. What are the three things? Yourself, yeah. Other people, for sure. And something larger than yourself. So if you look at yourself before recovery, for most people caught in addiction, look, there was always a war going on between inside yourself, always a war. There was you and there was the other person. There was the you that you were supposed to be and the you that you were not supposed to be. The addictive self. Part of the awakening is the end of that war. Not because you've won it, but because you've stopped fighting and started accepting. You've looked at yourself honestly in the mirror. You got the whole picture, the dark and the light, both, and said, this is me. This is the real me. And I'm going to love this person anyway, despite all my faults. And I'm going to work to heal myself the best I can. For a lot of people in addiction, they've been running from themselves for years. I know I did. Can't speak for you, but I know I did. Decades. And the awakening, the spiritual awakening, is the moment that you stop running. All right? Stop running away from yourself. Addiction is isolating. Even when you're surrounded by people, there's a kind of loneliness at the center, and it's hard to describe. A deep sense that nobody knows you, really, deeply, that if they did, well, that's another story. One of the signs of a spiritual awakening is that this starts to change. You begin to be able to sit in a room with other people and actually feel connected to them, actually feeling it. You start to find that the walls that you built to protect yourself are the same walls that have been keeping warmth of relationships out for a long, long time. Trust begins slowly, carefully, imperfectly, but it does begin. I find that so true with family, and especially if you have kids. Trust to begin slowly, carefully, imperfectly, but at least it begins. Now, this one point is a little different for everybody. For some, it's God in the traditional sense. For some, it's the universe or nature or the force that runs through all living things. For some, it's simply the group, the rooms of AA, of NA, Celebrate Recovery, or any other group that is focused on recovery. The collective wisdom and living experiences of people who have been through what you're going through, what you've been through. But there's a shift that happens, a shift from I am the center of the universe. I gave that up a long time ago. I had it once, well, maybe more than once. Oh, I thought I was the center of the universe. But eventually, I made the shift. I'm not the center of the universe. I'm part of something. I don't have to carry all of this alone. That shift is the awakening. And if you've experienced any version of that, you're on your way. So, spiritual awakening. You may not have called it that yourself, but you may not even have recognized it. But if you're sober up to step 12, through step 12, you're in recovery, it's happened. And it matters more than you know. Now, how about the message? The message. We tried to carry this message to others. Well, this is where some people get nervous too. They think I'm not a counselor, I'm not a good communicator, I'm not a therapist, I haven't been sober very long. I still mess up, relapse, whatever. I don't have all the answers. Who am I to be telling somebody else how to live? Well, the answer to the last question is actually the most important thing, and that is that you, if you're in recovery, if you're beginning recovery, if you're in recovery, if you have some time, whatever it is, few days, few weeks, years, if you have some time, you're somebody who's been there. You know what's on the other side. And that's it. That's your qualification to carry that message. Um, you don't need a degree, and you don't need years of sobriety for sure. You don't have to have a perfect track record. Lord knows I don't. The simple, irreplaceable, extraordinary fact is that you have lived inside of addiction and you know what it's like. And finally, you've found a way to live differently. And that truth, that lived experience, is something that no textbook can give a person. No therapist, however gifted, can sit across from somebody and say, hey, I know what it's like to reach for it before you're even fully awake, before you've made a choice. But you can. And that changes everything because you've been there. And despite the pitfalls, it's a gift. It's a profound gift. Step 12 is a gift. It's about giving it away. Give the gift away. Now, the most direct form of step 12 work is sponsorship, of course. Becoming a sponsor. Taking another person through the steps the way somebody took you through the steps. If they did, you should have a sponsor. Someone you trust. And you should be available, consistent, honest, and sharing the message to help them get through to the other side, to this side, the best side. Freedom, that side. There's also what the program calls particularly in AA, they call it 12-step calls. And that's when somebody is in crisis and they make a call to AA, the group. And some of the folks from AA will get together and you go. Not to fix them, not to lecture to them, just to show up and say, hey, look, I was where you are once. Here's what I did. Here's what's possible. And I'm living proof that that exit door to what you're going through right now does exist. There is a light at the end of the tunnel. And I'm living proof. Believe me. Believe me. And sometimes that's genuinely all a person needs. Sometimes just the proof, just the living evidence that, hey, look at the people here. You know, there's a way out. It's real. We did it. You can do it. It's simple. Life is hard. The program is simple. Step 12, carry the message to others. How else do I carry the message? Well, when you choose to tell the truth in a conversation, where lying would have been easier, but no, you don't take the easy way, you take the hard way sometimes and tell the truth. Another way to carry the message, and this is a big one, particularly for me, and I know some folks out there too. Hey, listen, you're carrying the message when your kids see how you live now as opposed to back then. And something in them begins to believe that people can change and that the struggles that they're going through might not be permanent. That their parent is someone that they can count on. And it also happens when you choose in some small and quiet moment to respond instead of react, to pause instead of escalate. Ooh, that goes back to the traffic, being caught in traffic, right? Oh my gosh, yes. To forgive instead of holding it in and holding on to it. All of that is carrying the message. Every single bit of that, carrying the message. And the idea of being called to serve another person, of being used by something greater than yourself to reach into someone else's darkness and turn on a light. That's not just a recovery concept. It runs all the way through human spiritual history. It runs through the Bible. Galatians chapter 6, verse 2, just to quote, carry each other's burdens, and in this way you will fulfill the law of Christ, helping each other out, carrying the message to others. Carry each other's burdens. Yeah, that's a novel idea, isn't it? Not fix each other's burdens, not judge each other's burdens, but carry them together. And there's something in that word, carry, that speaks exactly to what step 12 asks us to do. You had somebody carry a portion of your burden through the process, a sponsor, a group, a higher power. Now you get to do the carrying for somebody else. Whoa, how about that? And what the scripture says is this: is how love is fulfilled. This is how it happens. Not in some grand theatrical sense, but very practical, very human act of just showing up for somebody who's struggling. It's that easy. So they don't have to carry that weight all by themselves. And the last part of step 12, practicing these principles in all our affairs. This is the part that also separates people who stay sober from people who genuinely recover. What does that mean? People who stay, there's two people that stay sober and people who genuinely recover. Well, of course. Staying sober is about not drinking or using or whatever your addiction is, not taking part in your addiction. That's sober. Recovering is about becoming someone different who doesn't need to drink, drug, or use whatever your addiction is. That's a significant difference. And it's the difference that practicing these principles in all your affairs is pointing directly at. And what are the principles? Well, the 12 steps taken together, they're not just a checklist, they're a whole curriculum, you might say. They teach you one step at a time, a set of principles for being a human being. Again, and you know what they are. Step 1 teaches humility. I can't do this alone. I'm not in control. Step 2 and 3, teach trust and surrender. There is something greater than me out there, and I can lean on that higher power, and I choose to call my higher power God. Steps 4 and 5, teach honesty with myself and with at least one other person that I trust. Confession. Step 6 and 7, they teach willingness and openness to real change. Step 8 and 9, teach accountability and repair, how to fix things. Steps 10 and 11 teach ongoing self-reflection and conscious contact with something higher. And step 12, here we are, asks for the final and the hardest question. Can you take all of that you've been through, every bit of that, all those principles, and can you turn them into the fabric of your life? Think about that. Not just in meetings, not just when you're with another person in addiction. Every day, in every relationship, in every choice, bring all of those 12 steps in to your life. Practicing these principles in all your affairs. It looks like you tell your partner the truth, even when the truth is uncomfortable. Because step 5 taught you that honesty, however hard in the moment, is a lot lighter on you than the weight of secrets. It looks like admitting at work when you made a mistake. Who's done that before? Not with excuses, not with excessive self-punishment, just cleanly and directly, because step 10 taught you that prompt, honest inventory saves everybody time and pain. Saves you pain. It looks like slowing down before you say something cruel in an argument. Oh, yeah. Catching yourself in that half a second before the damage is done and choosing differently, because step 11 taught you that pausing to seek guidance changes outcomes. And this is a big one. It looks like setting healthy limits with people who want to pull you back into chaos. Man, that is so true. Not with anger, but with clarity and love. Set the limits, healthy limits, because you've learned that protecting your recovery is one of the most important things that you can do for people around you. And it looks like becoming over time somebody that doesn't need to be managed, someone who doesn't need to be watched or worried about or walked on eggshells around. And I've done that. I'm guilty as charged. Practicing the principles. Someone your children can count on. Someone your partner can breathe around. Someone that your own heart can finally trust. That's what practicing these principles in all your affairs builds, slowly, imperfectly, over time. And that's the life that's available on the other side of darkness. The life that's available. And it's all there with step 12. And there's a passage in the New Testament that I think captures the spirit of this transformation better than almost anything that I've ever read or said. And that's in Romans chapter 12, verse 1 and 2. Therefore, I urge you, brothers and sisters, in view of God's mercy, to offer your bodies as a living sacrifice, holy and pleasing to God. This is your true and proper worship. Do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Then you'll be able to test and approve what God's will is, his good and pleasing and perfect will. Romans 12:1 and 2. Yeah. Be transformed by the renewing of your mind. That's exactly what the 12 steps do. Exactly. They do not simply change your behavior, they rewire the way you think. They rewire your mind. And notice what that transformation makes possible. You become able to know, to test, and to approve what your purpose is, what your life is for. In the language of step 12, you become able to live by principles, not just rules, and you become able to carry those principles outward into other people's lives in a way that genuinely matters. The word transformation, if I can say it right, transformation, and it's not a small word, it's a big word. And the 12 steps are not offering a small thing, they're offering a different life. That's big. A different life. Wow. Huge. Huge. So, step 12 is, in my opinion, probably one of the most important steps of the 12 steps. Step 12, the last step, you do it. You've got to do it. It's the beginning of a new way of life. It is the place that you arrive after working the previous 11 steps, and you live it the rest of your life. The rest of your life. People who've been in recovery for 10, 20, 30 years often say that this step deepens as time passes. That what it means to carry the message at 2 years sober is genuinely different from what it is at 20 years sober or 15. At 2 years, it might mean going to meetings regularly, sharing your story honestly, beginning to sponsor people for the first time. At 10 years, it might mean mentoring other sponsors, serving as a trusted servant in your home group, bringing the message into other places, treatment centers, hospitals, prisons. And at 20 years, you are the elder in the room and you should be respected. Absolutely. Absolutely. So, with all of that, I certainly hope you got something out of today. Let me just check my notes and see if there's anything else that we need to review. People who are generally and truly living step 12 are special people. Bear with me just a moment while I take care of something here. Bear with me. I want to take care of that. I'll be right back. I promise. Okay, I'm back. That was quick. Excuse me. I don't know what it is about this room or the weather, but I get a stuffed up nose. I didn't want you to see me blowing my nose. My foghorn. So where was I? Oh, yeah. We're talking about people who are truly living. Step 12 carry a particular quality with them. If you're living step 12 and you're serious, there's a steadiness and a quality to be present in different moments without running away. There's an ability to sit with somebody else's pain without needing to fix it or run away from it. People that are truly living step 12 have learned in the hardest possible school of life that suffering can be survived. The darkness has a warning. The sun will come out tomorrow. That people are capable of far more change than they think. And that capacity to believe in people, even when they can't yet believe in themselves, is huge. That's one of the great gifts that recovery gives back to the world, that belief in people even when they can't believe in themselves. One final scripture from 1 Peter chapter 4, verse 10. This one's simple and direct. It ties everything together. Each of you should use whatever gift you have received to serve others as faithful stewards of God's grace in its various forms. Faithful stewards of God's grace in its various forms. You've been given something. You've been given something. Don't know what it is. You do. You may not have asked for it. You may have fought against it. You may have had to lose almost everything to receive it, but you've been given a gift. The gift of knowing that what it feels like to be lost and finding your way back. Yeah, that's a gift, the gift of understanding at a level that goes down to the bone, what it means to be sick and get well. The gift of a story that when it was told honestly, when told without the armor, without editing, can actually change the direction of someone else's life. How about that? And that's not nothing. That's a gift. The call of step 12 and of this verse is to steward it faithfully. Take care of it faithfully. Not hoard it, not hide it, not be ashamed of it, but offer it in whatever form makes sense for who you are and where you are and who you happen to be standing next to. That is step 12. Okay? I think underneath it all, underneath the language of steps and the principles and service and the spiritual awakenings, something very simple is happening. There is a person who was drowning, who went under, maybe went under more than once, and something happened. Something in the water changed, or something in the person changed, or both, and they came back up. They floated to the top, and now they're sitting in a meeting, or watching a live stream, or sponsoring their first person, or calling their mother, or showing up to the daughter's school play for the first time in 3 years, and they're doing it sober. They're present. They're actually there. That's a miracle. That is a resurrection. Now, I don't care what language you use for it. That's a person coming back to life. And step 12 says, don't keep it to yourself. It doesn't say announce it loudly or make it your entire identity or use it to feel superior to people that are still struggling. Don't do that. It says carry the message, be the message, live in a way that makes recovery visible. Live in a way that somebody that's still out there in the dark can look at you and say, wow, if they made it out, maybe I can too. That's the whole thing. In a nutshell, as they used to say back in the day. All 12 steps, boiled all the way down, come to that one act of quiet courage, staying alive and letting people see it, where you've come from and where you are now. So I promised you at the very beginning that that we'd come back to that question, and let me say it again slowly. If everything you went through, all of it, the worst of it, was actually preparing you for something bigger than yourself, would you be willing to find out what it is? And here's what I believe. I believe the answer is yes, not a maybe yes, not a painless yes, not a yes that pretends everything was fine or that damage didn't happen or that people you hurt aren't still hurting, but a yes grounded in the reality that you're still here. You survive things that are statistically, medically, and actually designed to kill people. Think about that. You've looked at the darkest parts of yourself and not permanently looked away. You have, however, imperfectly walked back toward the people that you hurt. You've sat in rooms full of strangers who became your people, your peeps. You've done things that you didn't believe yourself capable of doing, and now you're here asking, what's it all for? Well, it's for this. The person that calls you at midnight because they can't stop shaking and they don't know who else to call. It was for your son or your daughter watching you keep your word to them, quietly filing it away somewhere deep, building the belief that people can change, that parents can come back to be parents. It's true. It happened to me. It doesn't have to be all in ruins. You can come back from it. What was it for? It was for the meeting where you say something, nothing polished, nothing rehearsed, just the truth, and across the room, there's a person over there on the other side of the room who hears you and thought to themselves, wow, that's the experience that I had. That's what I'm feeling the same way. The addiction, the rock bottom, the slow, imperfect rebuilding, the steps, the failures along the way, the getting back up again, falling down, getting up again, falling down, getting up again, all of it was building something in you that simply can't be built any other way. A compassion comes from experience. A patience that comes from having needed it yourself at one point. A hope that is not optimism, but testimony. You get to do something with all of that experience now. That is step 12. If you haven't reached step 12 yet in your own personal journey, keep going. Every single step is doing something in you that you can't fully see yet. And it's not a waste of time. The time's not wasted. Even the setbacks aren't wasted. Just keep showing up. Keep showing up. Consistency is everything. And if you're new to step 12, well, you don't need to have it figured out yet. You don't need to be polished or eloquent or completely healed. You just need to be honest and available. Start with one person. Show up for that one person. The rest will unfold in ways that you can't fully plan for. Somebody else has that plan laid out for you. And if you're lucky enough to have been living step 12 for years, thank you. Thank you, thank you. You may never fully know what you've given the world. The pebble that drops into the pond, the ripple effects that go out from your sobriety and your service and your steady, faithful presence in the rooms, AA, NA, Celebrate Recovery, whatever recovery room that you visit, goes a lot further than you see. The person you helped 10 years ago may have helped 3 more. Those 3 may have helped 10. You're part of a chain of grace that stretches out in ways that you'll never be able to measure it. And if you say one life, saved one life, that's immeasurable. Recovery is possible. It's not easy. It's simple. Not easy. It's not perfect. Not pain-free. But genuinely, deeply, profoundly possible. And the life waiting on the other side is not just a sober life. It's a whole life, a present life, a life with real meaning and real relationships that actually hold weight, and the quiet dignity of knowing you chose something hard and you saw it through. Wow, that's worth everything. You are worth everything. Everything. You are. Think about that. Okay. That was an in-depth step 12 review lesson, if you will. And I hope you got something out of it. Truly. That about wraps it up for tonight. We've gone a little bit longer than I expected, but that's good. I'm happy. Happy that you are here. Happy you're able to view that. Now, generally, I'm doing the live stream around 7 p.m. 4 or 5 days a week. But if you're listening to this, watching this outside of those hours, that's great. They're up there, they're all up there and aware and convinced. Please drop a like or subscribe in there if you like the information. Leave a comment. I always read the comments, so leave a quick comment, good, bad, or any way you'd like to. Anything you have to say, leave it in the comment section. I appreciate that. And on that note, remember 3 pillars of sobriety and recovery: trust God, clean house, help others. Step 12, tonight, today, this morning, whenever you're watching. And God bless our veterans. I keep doing that with the wrong finger. God bless our veterans, active and non-active personnel. God bless them all. And remember, somebody out there loves you. And we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.